Welcome to the Scooby-Doo mystery that is the missing $60 million, or at least BLM's $60 million that's gone missing. And we will get into the Scooby-Doo mystery and all that. But I want to first combine this with another story that popped up, and a lot of people have reacted to, but I thought we'd better mention it before we get into this, which is this trailer on, was it Showtime? Everything's going to be all white. And this is some race propaganda, that's not mince words, in which the people who run Hollywood have decided that it's time again, let's fund something in which we just chat about white people. And let's evidence that by just playing the trailer.
I think what annoys me most about white people is when they pretend like they're the victim. What's also annoying is when they kill us.
What is fragile about whiteness when everything has been constructed around it?
Every part of who I am has been distorted or criminalized.
It's really just a bunch of white lies.
We're storming the Capitol! You're not patriots. You're ridiculous.
One of the definitions of American whiteness is ignorance.
White people, we are not your problem. You are.
Should white people today feel any responsibility for slavery?
Hell yeah.
White Jesus or black Jesus?
Jesus was not white.
Think of geography. Ain't no way Jesus walked around with blonde hair and blue eyes.
So we're just going to end it there, because it's just... And I love how they're really trying to make, whiteness, as they put it, look terrible. And they've got images of, people at Thanksgiving and people getting married and stuff. It's like, oh, no, how terrible. But then everything in there, of course, you can mention about, just change the word white for black, and you've got about 10 crimes against your name at that point.
And 2.5 million people have watched this.
2.5 million views. And as John is pointing out there, you can also see the likes and dislikes because YouTube hid them, but there's an extension that unhides them.
81,000.
81,000 dislikes, 2.5 thousand likes. Presumably that's how many people YouTube employ to go and do exactly this, because who else is liking that? But there's some things in there. So we ended on the fact of him saying black or white Jesus. Think about the geography. How is he going to have blue eyes? Well, I'd like to mention first well-known Syrian, Bashar al-Assad, to the stage, please. What colour eyes has he got, Peter?
They're blue.
Yeah, they're blue. Yeah, funny about that. Now what, boys? He wasn't South Sudanese. That's nonsense. But also on the point of just, why bother making this? But it is blatantly obvious. It's for people like Tariq Nasheed's audience. I don't know if you ever watched Tariq Nasheed stuff. Nope. He's an American black nationalist.
I've missed him.
This is my favorite. It's a trailer about a movie he made called Hidden Colors, in which he argues that black people founded Japan and China, and ancient Greece and Russia, and basically everyone who did anything was black. It's that kind of stuff. We were samurais and shit. So that's what I think it's made for, that kind of audience. And we can evidence this by, if we go to the next one, we can see it's made for Black History Month, as Variety magazine informs us. And if we go to the list of episodes, we can have a look at what the subject matter is going to be. Episode number 1, White Lies Matter. Okay, keep all this in mind as we get into the Scooby-Doo mystery of BLM and the missing money. When we go to the next one, we can see more episodes, the episode listings. If we scroll down this, you can see in episode 2, it's called White Color Crime, and episode 3, White Noise, because, again, it's just anti-white propaganda. And if we go to the next one, we can actually see the French press just calling it exactly that. I mean, it's in French, but if you translate from frog to English, this one, there's just the French press being like, yeah, this is just people being anti-white in Hollywood. They don't even mince words whatsoever. But if we have some sympathy, though, because black people do face special challenges in our society, as the Labour Party informs us. We go to the next one.
Oh, dear.
Black people have to pay energy bills, unlike white people. You and me, Peter, if you remember, we were down on the white meeting last week.
Yeah.
We all got on the message. You can see here Annalisa Dodds saying, under the Tories, 4 in 5 black people have less than £1,500 in savings to cope with these soaring energy bills. Damn. How could you do this to black people, raising energy bills? Unlike the whites who get our special exemptions.
I'm looking for my special exemption from my, electricity bill is probably tripled in the last year and a half. So it's unbelievable how they can say only the color of your skin affects your bills.
Absolutely. If we go to the next one, there's some other stuff about BLM before I get into this mention, because we also have the story of Kurt Zouma that's been popping up. And I just Googled Kurt Zouma BLM, because if you scroll, John, you should be able to find, I believe it's him taking the knee quite a few times. There's very famous pictures of him doing it. Yeah, you can see the one on the right there. Incredibly famous. And he was in the news because he decided to kick his cat about.
Did he take the knee before he kicked the cat or after?
Yeah, before.
Before.
He was very keen on Black lives. And then we have the footage here of him abusing his pet as someone who deeply cares about ethical issues. Decided to kick his cat about. Perfectly normal. If we go to the next one, we can see the response from the fans, which is to chant, Eric Zouma, he plays centre back, he kicks his effing cat. Whenever he was playing. It's just, I love football chants. They're amazing. And we go to
the cat was striped. It was black and white, so there was confusion. I think there's also a ginger cat he didn't kick, because ginger cats' lives do matter, obviously.
They have no souls. They need to be protected.
Yes.
If we go to the next one, there were some of his black fellow players who were also supporting him, saying that, well, what's worse, racism or kicking a cat? And presumably this is an accusation that the cat is racist, therefore deserved it. But as you say, black and white, therefore not racist. If we go to the next one, we can see the defamation payout that will be coming, I am sure, to the cat.
what I mean, now they kneel for football matches. What are they going to do for the cats? It would be a special symbol, a cat symbol or a cat.
Well, maybe they'll be just throwing around money, as BLM do.
Could do.
So if we'll skip the next one, I'll just go to the next link, this one here, John. This is the main thing I wanted to talk about, because all of that is sort of around BLM. This is an individual who I have mocked many a time, because she said dumb nonsense. As you can see, she says instead, 60 million of the 90 million raised by BLM, National Organization 2020, remains undistributed and unaccounted for, and the organization now has no official leader. And you might think this is a right-winger. As I said, no, it's someone who made fun of. She's the former National Press Secretary for Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign. Again, a person deeply of the left, and the left now have turned on BLM. And I think this is definitely worth looking at. And the chap here, he's written an article for New York Magazine. If we go to the next link, we can have a look at it ourselves. And they give us a big old story about, well, where's all the money, bro? Give us the money, bro. Because now that BLM's got loads of money, give it to the left or, well, you're going to end up getting attacked. And as you see in here, they start off with a story saying there's some local guy who, some KKK flyers turn up where he lives. So he decides to set up a protest against the Klan because, you know, Klan bad, stunning and brave. And meanwhile, Colors, one of the founders of BLM, could be found on live streaming on YouTube. She resigned as an executive director 6 weeks later, saying she wanted to concentrate on other projects, including books and a production deal with Warner Brothers. Incredibly lucrative. Black Lives Matter Global National Fund said it had raised more than $90 million in 2020. It incurred $8.4 million in operating expenses and distributed $21 million in grants to more than 30 organizations, retaining some $60 million in its coffers. But if these disclosures were intended to quiet dissent, they didn't quite succeed, writes the leftist writing this article. A few weeks later, in March 2021, two mothers of victims of police violence, Lisa Simpson and Samir Rice, released a statement calling on BLM Global Foundation and others to stop capitalizing on their suffering. Quote, "We don't want or need y'all parading in the streets, accumulating donations, platforms, movie deals, etc., off the back of our loved ones, while the families and communities are left clueless and broken. Don't say our loved ones' names, period. That's our truth."
I'm stuck at Lisa Simpson, sorry.
Sorry, it's a weird name.
I know.
But I mean, could you get a worse optical situation in which the mothers of the people who've been murdered, whose graves you have been standing upon, shouting, say their names, you're the guys who've been shouting that, the mothers of them are openly just saying, BLM, stop saying their names, because you are just grifters. I mean, this is what I like about this story, is it is entirely within the left. So the guy writing this, the people promoting it, as you could see, but also he has done the work and actually gone and met people on the ground and find out what's going on. And he gives us a full origin story of BLM. So it starts off. After arranging a protest in Beverly Hills, of course, Colors, along with Garcia and Tometti, resurfaced the following summer in Ferguson, now branding their efforts as Black Lives Matter. Ashley Yates, an activist originally from St. Louis, remembers encountering two of the three there. Quote, "No one really was clear on what they were there for, and no one really was even clear on who they were there for." So just openly from the start, BLM had absolutely no direction. Just scream BLM and question mark, profit. I don't know what else they're going for, because that's what they got. And she says, Yates was later pressed to Colors and Garcia and Tometti on the matter privately. Quote, "They say it's not really us taking the credit for what's going on. The media's doing it, and we can't help what they do. I'm like, okay, but it came from your mouth. Yates has since broken with Black Lives Matter at a national level over what she sees as deeply troubling lack of financial transparency. She also has some dispute with the organization because a girlfriend of hers accused her of abuse within the organization. Girlfriend of hers. Quote, I funneled so much money to BLM, Yates says, silly me.
You'd think if they've 60 million and haven't spent it, then they must have defeated racism in America.
Racism is no more, boys.
Yeah, if there's no projects to spend it on, then they've defeated racism. This is great news.
Well, how many houses do you have to buy until racism is no more?
And boats and planes and other things.
Whatever the hell else you buy. But they mention here, so that's the origin story in which, so you have some people who just turn up, have no real goals, they don't really could explain what they're doing, even, to earn this donation money, and, well, are even being called out by their own people at the start. But then they got a organization called Thousand Currents involved to help make them more efficient at getting donations and presumably pocketing the cash. Thousand Currents revenue increased dramatically after taking on the organization, from 1.7 million in the year ending in 2015 to 6.6 million a year later. In the fiscal year concluding just after George Floyd's death in 2020, revenue shot up to 86.9 million.
Don't know what I could say on that. I won't say it. Business is business.
It is just business.
Yeah.
But I love it because there's a big focus on the 60 mil, because of course the leftists would like to get a hands on that 60 mil for themselves.
I'd like to get my hands on the 60 mil.
Who wouldn't want to get their hands on 60 mil? And but there's the other aspect there, that they had 1.7 in 2015 and 6 million in 2016 as well. And then presumably in those other years they've made millions as well. That's a lot of money. I mean, even just several million is a lot of money before we even get to the ridiculousness of 2020, where they're getting 80 mil. I mean, almost 90 mil there.
Yes, yeah. Nearly 100, yeah.
I mean, one of the funniest parts, so they write in here, BuzzFeed News reported in 2020 that Apple, Google, Microsoft, and other corporations nearly donated $4 million to an entity called Black Lives Matter Foundation before realizing it had no connection to the group started by Colors. So you remember all those corporate accounts being like, we're going to give money to social justice. All that. They almost completely gave it to random people just because it had the words Black Lives Matter in the title. So if you wanted money, you literally could have just said Black Lives Matter X or whatever words, and you may have just been given money by accident. That's how ridiculous this got.
Just a scam?
4 million alone. So Black Lives Matter Global Foundation were also lining their family as they listen here. The group sent more than $270,000 to Bowers Consulting Company, as well as some $211,000 to Ashley Bandel, a friend of Colors who co-wrote her memoir. About $200,000 went to a company Colors operates with her spouse, Jayana and terrible names, Consulting, and about $86,000 paid to Trap Heels LLC, an entertainment, clothing, and consulting company started by Damon Termer, the father of Patrisse Cullors' child. So again, just all of their friends. That's the operating costs alone. So that was all just going to their family.
They paid money to clothing companies, entertainment companies.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Family businesses.
For all the family businesses.
Wow.
This is on top of the 60 million they're keeping to themselves, of course. On July 25th, 2016, police officers in Watts shot and killed 18-year-old Richard Risher, and afterwards, Risher's mother, Lisa Simpson, got involved in the Los Angeles chapter of Black Lives Matter. Malia Abdullah, a co-founder of Black Lives Matter LA and a co-director of BLM Grassroots, a tier officially recognized by the chapters. This is an aspect that people seem to look over, is that everything's got BLM such and such.
Yeah.
And therefore, even within their own movement, they're not even sure who the hell's on their side and not on their side officially. So it gets confusing. But she is officially on their side, and she stood next to Simpson and gave a passionate speech calling for people to donate $5,000 to help pay for Risher's funeral. Other people.
So some of the 60 million must have gone to this funeral? No?
No, zero.
No?
That 60 million has all been kept. I don't know what percentage went to that funeral. Presumably nothing, because, well, if they wanted to pay it, they could have just paid it outright, all the money that was coming in. And God knows how much she stood on that platform saying, please donate to help the funeral. If people just went to BLM.org and donated, they just gave to BLM.org.
Yep.
Presumably none of that did go to the funeral. At least there's no evidence of it. Simpsons says she never received any funeral money from the organization. So again, this left-wing reporter has gone down and asked the people on the ground. Simpson says absolutely nothing. She's currently paying week to week to rent a room in a motel for herself and a 13-year-old son.
So none of the money goes to the people who need it. It all goes to the family businesses set up by those at the top.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. They couldn't spare $5,000 for someone whose grave they stood on. or at least for the mother to bury him. Couldn't even do that. Do you remember where I played the intro bit and they were talking about white lies?
Yeah.
White lies matter. Black lives matter. Literally. We have you standing on a platform saying, please donate for this guy's funeral because he's been murdered by the police. And then you keep all of the money. Millions and millions worth of the money. I mean, I know people have looked at the Black Lives Mansion stuff and all that, but the rot really is worse than I ever thought it could be. Could you imagine sitting on millions and millions of dollars and you won't even give money to someone's funeral when you're standing on their son's grave?
And nothing's been done of this money because you write all the stories about the money going to all those houses. The Kim Out story, it was there for a day and then it disappears, and still none of it goes to actually the people who could benefit from that money.
$0. But it's like, you know, I don't know the circumstances of this guy getting killed. Maybe he's another one of the BLM martyrs where, you know, it's actually justified. But let's just assume it's not justified 100%. This lady lost her son. This organization who claims that they want to stand up for this guy turns up. And they're just like, yeah, donate to our Patreon. Bye, guys. Doesn't even help out the family at all. I mean, I know they're scumbags, but I mean, you couldn't really get any worse, in my opinion. Just openly being like, yeah, we have cash, and we're not giving it to you. Pointless movement. But if we go to the next one, there is some justice to come, maybe. So as you can see here in the mail, BLM leaders are warned that they will be held personally liable if they fail to disclose the details of the $60 million in donations by California Department of Justice. So in here they say, in a letter issued to BLM on Monday, the California Department of Justice accused the charity of failing to submit its annual financial reports and alleging it was in delinquent status. The leaders of Black Lives Matter could be held personally liable if they fail to disclose all records about their charity, specifically the $60 million US they just disappeared and went with, within the next 60 days. I don't think it's going to go well.
It's not. It is the opposite side of the story of who never remember his name, the Chinese dissident who was just fined 127 million by the US authorities for not disclosing. And here, these people, they
didn't disclose.
Nope, and nothing happened. No 127 million pound fine here.
I mean, if you think the Californian authorities do actually find our delinquents and they've just puffed in a smoke and left with all the money, you think are actually going to be looked at?
Does anything good come from California?
Anyone going to end up in jail rightfully?
No,
it's not going to happen. However, what are they doing with that money? Because you may think, oh, that's a hell of a lot of money to hide. Well, we could look at one place. We look to Canada. If we go to the next link, we can see a story here. Black Lives Matter transferred millions to Canadian charity run by the wife of the co-founder, Patrisse Cullors, to buy Toronto mansion formerly owned by the Communist Party.
That's a beautiful headline.
Could you ask for a better headline? Like, if I asked you to write a fake news story with a catchy headline, you couldn't do better than that. As they say in here, Black Lives Matter transferred millions of dollars to the charity, which is run by Patrisse Cullors. BLM Canada announced on July 2021 that they had recently purchased a 3-story Victorian mansion in the Baldwin Village area of Toronto, close to downtown.
So this was
Victorian mansion.
But this was raised for a US group, and they just transferred abroad.
A global fund.
Would that not be money laundering?
I don't know. The imposing red brick house was previously the headquarters of the Communist Party, the Mail write. Birds of a feather. On Saturday, the New York Post reported that the funds to purchase the property came from Black Lives Matter and were transferred from the global network to the M4BJ, the Canadian branch, a Toronto-based non-profit set up by Jayana Khan and other Canadian activists. You may remember Jayana from earlier, where I mentioned she's also one of the people that is just so close because, well, she is the wife of one of the founders. Khan is the spouse of BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors, they write in here.
And what application do you put in for that? Would like 6 million because we want to buy a Victorian house. Oh, that sounds a good idea. Good project. Fits with our ideals. Here's some money.
Yes.
I hope it's linked to the Communist Party. Oh, it was. Great.
I mean, with the Hassan Piker stuff and everyone else in the socialist camp slowly becoming millionaires, it is becoming a bit of a joke, which is just like, if you want to be a millionaire, become a socialist.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're buying a Victorian mansion, I mean, not your only one. Remember, I mean, like the lady we mentioned at the start, she has 3 already. And then you're on your 4th.
Maybe it's for Lisa Simpson, her 3 kids.
I mean, mate. Yeah, they're going to help her out of that motel room and move her into Canada, I'm sure. I don't know what to say. Quite frankly, I'm just in awe. I mean, the absolute ruthless capitalists involved in this, they all stand on someone's grave, anyone's grave, provided they can get money out of it, and have done so well, they've got tens of millions of dollars and are trying to hide it in property all over the world.
But it is going to be turned into the Wild Seed Art Centre. Exciting project, no?
Yeah, I'm sure that's not you just hiding your money. No, it's going to be for the community. I swear.
But where's the anger in a community that comes together around a cause under that flag and sees the money disappear? Surely there must be some anger that spills over, and yet you don't see it.
Silence. Because, I mean, the right wing has been reporting on this for ages, let's say, or the BLM mansions and whatnot. But finally, I think this is a left-wing outlet, and as you saw, left-wingers there, who is finally realizing, hey, what happened? And bad news, folks, no refunds.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com and subscribe there to support us. We're entirely funded by our members. And you also get access to all of our great premium content, such as this long-form video, The Politics of V for Vendetta, in which John and I cover the book and the graphic novel, and the movie of V for Vendetta, and just analyse the themes that are contained within it. And once you've done that, you can go over to Getter and follow me at Carl Benjamin and tell me how much good work John had done on that podcast. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.